Chapter 97. Lonely Night in the Rain 1. As time passed, the wind and rain grew heavier. The howling wind sounded like it was crying as it reverberated in the main city of the Seven Blood Eyes. It roamed every street and alley, meeting the rain in the sky time and time again and hugging each other. It also landed on the Penguin Row and around Xu Qing. The rain knocked on the bricks at the sign, producing a ta-ta sound. The wind wasn't to be outdone either, blowing his long robe and causing it to flutter. As for Xu Qing, who was standing under the roof, it was as though he wouldn't be disturbed by the wind and rain. His entire person melted into the darkness like a hunter, not moving at all as he coldly stared at his prey. He was very patient, his breathing was even and unhurried. Just like that, another 2 hours passed. When the lights of thousands of households were extinguished, the entire city fell into darkness and silence. Only the rustling of the rain could be heard. In the inn, a figure slowly revealed his head. It was a middle-aged cultivator in a red robe. His body under the robe seemed to be very muscular and his shoulders were extremely wide. Standing there, he gave off an oppressive feeling. It was Qing Yunzi. The spirit energy fluctuations on his body were also very extraordinary. He seemed to have reached the 9th level of Qi condensation and seemed to be very strong. However, this kind of strength was only relative to small sects and small forces. To the disciples of the Seven Blood Eyes, the difference in cultivation techniques had already increased the foundation of both sides. To be able to grow in the cruel environment of the Seven Blood Eyes main city, one only needed to be at the 7th level of Qi condensation to suppress a 9th level cultivator like him. Hence, this made him very cautious in the Seven Blood Eyes main city. At that moment, at the inn's door, he first stuck his head out and scanned his surroundings. After confirming that there was no danger, he tried to take a step forward. The instant he stepped out of the inn, his entire body suddenly swayed and he was about to leave in the rainy night. However, after taking less than 5 steps, Qing Yunzi's expression changed. It was as though he had a talent for identifying danger. Although he didn't see Xu Qing, he seemed to have sensed danger. He suddenly turned around and headed straight for the inn. Xu Qing frowned slightly. He originally planned to wait for the other party to run a little further before attacking. However, the other party's vigilance was too high. At that moment, a cold glint flashed in his eyes as he walked out. His speed was so fast that he was like a bolt of lightning, shuttling through the rain. The falling rain became incomparably slow in front of him. At that moment, a sonic boom rang out in the entire street. As the rain continued to dissipate, Xu Qing's figure was like an arrow that had left the bow, heading straight for Qing Yunzi outside the inn with irresistible force. Qing Yunzi's expression changed drastically. He saw Xu Qing and sensed the terrifying speed. He also sensed the aura of the forbidden sea from the spirit energy in the other party's body, suppressing his entire body and causing his spirit energy to stop circulating. His heart instantly trembled violently, so life and death crisis erupted at this moment. His eyes instantly turned red. He bit the tip of his tongue and seemed to have activated a secret technique. He forcefully circulated his cultivation and caused his speed to increase explosively. He was about to rush into the inn's door. At that moment, the old man smoking a pipe appeared at the entrance of the inn. Under the illumination of the fireworks, he looked at Xu Qing, who was rushing over. In the next instant, Qing Yunzi's eyes were bloodshot, and he was only half a step away from the inn's entrance. Just as he lifted his right foot and was about to step in, a black light approached at an even faster speed. With a cold light and dense restricting spirit energy, it broke through Qing Yunzi's cultivation protection and suddenly passed through his raised right calf. The speed and impact were so fast that Qing Yunzi let out a miserable cry in the silent night. He couldn't land his right foot and his body was knocked to the side by the impact. As he staggered, he found it difficult to steady himself. When he had no choice but to take a step back, a second black light whistled over. It was a dagger. There was a bang. The speed of this dagger was astonishing. In an instant, it pierced into Qing Yunzi's left arm. Terrifying spirit energy erupted in his body. As it destroyed his meridians, it ruthlessly nailed his body to the ground. His face landed on the ground, and he was only an arm's length away from the inn's entrance. As he screamed, the veins on Qing Yunzi's forehead bulged. He struggled to pull out his dagger and crawl toward the inn, but it was too late. Xu Qing's figure had already closed in and he stepped on Qing Yunzi's back. This kick was extremely powerful. With a crack, the spine on his back broke. The intense pain caused Qing Yunzi's entire body to tremble violently, and his screams became even more miserable. Amidst his misery, the old man in the inn put down the pipe in his hand. At that moment, he seemed to emit a dangerous aura as he coldly looked at Xu Qing, who had appeared at the door. "Are you going to break my rules?" His two eyes had turned yellow. One could see tentacles burrowing out from them, and cracks appeared between his brows. It was as though there was something in his body that was about to crawl out. It was a shocking sight. At the same time, in his inn, a strange sound rang out. A huge python as thick as 3 people actually hung down from the roof beam of the inn. Its vertical pupils revealed coldness and bloodlust as it stared at Xu Qing. Not only that, but a large number of centipedes also crawled out from the ground. All of them were incomparably pitch black and contained extreme poison. They all assumed an attacking posture and sharp auras spread out from the surrounding houses. When they locked onto Xu Qing, ropes hung down from the roof. These ropes seemed to have a life of their own. At this moment, they were spinning slightly, as though they could wrap around Xu Qing in the next instant. An endless aura of death exuded from them, as though countless people had died on these ropes. They were staring at Xu Qing. Xu Qing stood at the door and stepped on the back of the person who was screaming. He then raised his head and looked at the old man in the inn.